Welcome, everybody, to the Think Like a Marketer show, where we interview marketers, entrepreneurs, and innovators and find out exactly how they think. And then we get a laugh up in there. For my guest today is Freddie Gorges. He's coming in from downtown Houston. He made the trip for me. Freddie Gorges, and yes, that is his real name, is known for being a LinkedIn expert here. He's built over 30,000 followers on LinkedIn, has one of the top 5 young professional LinkedIn groups, and has built an email list from LinkedIn alone, over 100,000. I want to welcome today Mr. Freddie Gorges.
Well, thanks so much. And you know what? Great minds do think alike.
I've seen that.
And for those that are watching, compared to the podcasters, you know, I'm wearing a black shirt and Randall's wearing a dark blue shirt.
This is actually a blue shirt.
Dark blue shirt.
But
you can't tell that.
So we just look like the Bopsy Twins. and it's a V-neck. Why?
Yeah. Well, because we look great in V-necks. That's why.
So man, you know, I know you had to drive all the way from downtown. I'm out here in the burbs, and I appreciate that. And you didn't have to. We could have done it live, but you actually wanted to come in so you could wear that matching shirt with me.
Absolutely. You know, I like the look of the backdrop that you have here, and the way you've got things set up here. So
at least I'm taller than you, though.
Well, that's because you're standing on some phone books. So what people don't know there on the podcast is that Randall is really short.
Yeah,
he stands on phone books.
See, look, I need to lower it so you could see me behind. So, you know, there's so many stories because we've known each other for many years. So, you know, it's like, what story do you share that open up so people could just get a sense of who really Freddie Gorges is and the tenacity that you really have? Because some of the things you've done requires that.
Yeah.
And I always love when you tell us the story about the jalapeno peppers. Was it a jalapeno or was it a habanero? Did I get it right?
No, it's actually jalapeno peppers.
Okay. Yeah. So take me to what led you to that and how you won. So you ended up winning like $500, right?
I did. I've got a check, a picture of me holding this big check that's about as big as this TV screen behind us. It's about 4 feet wide, of $500. And they actually gave me a smaller check to go and deposit. But, you know, the story on how I got there was back in 2008, if everybody remembers. There was a huge financial crisis. I had my own business, selling manufactured homes of all things. And none of my customers were getting a loan. And 6 months was going by, and I was bleeding more money than I was bringing in. And if you remember then that not only was it a financial crisis, but oil prices were up. I was driving a Suburban, so gas prices were up. Electric bill gone from actually just doubled. You know, what it was a $200 electric bill was now a $400 electric bill, and 6 months not bringing any money in and not winning any interviews to get hired. My wife at the time heard about this contest down in Pasadena, and we have a beautiful home in Copperfield, just northwest of Houston. In Pasadena, if anybody knows that area, it's the furthest way you can get from where I was driving from. And so the competition was, hey, we're giving away $500 for whoever eats the most jalapenos. You got to be here at this time. No formal registration, just show up. And so we loaded up my 2 daughters. The wife at the time swung by CVS, got a bottle of Mylanta, and I'm driving the Suburban with my kids, my wife, and I'm drinking this bottle of Mylanta all the way, just psyching myself up. You know, I've got a $400 electric bill, right? And I've been bleeding more money than I've been bringing in. And, you know, as the breadwinner and not bringing any bread home, you know, you get pretty desperate at times.
Man.
And either it's desperate or you really get this fire in your belly. And I found the fire in my belly in those jalapenos.
Literally, you couldn't find a hot dog place
no,
there
was no hot dog eating because we were listening to the radio and searching the internet for other competition that I could participate in. But
okay,
we didn't find anything, you know. But so we went down to Pasadena and was the only white boy there. You know, well, I'm half white anyways, but everybody else was from South America, from Mexico, from other nations. It's about 12 or 13 of us. And the simple rule was that you had to eat the whole jalapeno except the stem. And these are pickled jalapenos, but they're still hot.
Yeah.
Okay. And before you know it, I ate 14 jalapenos in the first minute, and it was enough to win the competition. And I can promise you, every joke that you can point at me and ask, and you can feel free to ask. But yes, every single joke is true. And I found that fire in my belly. But the only reason that I was there is because I didn't have a network.
Yeah.
Everybody that I knew was going through the same crisis.
Right.
And I had places.
Well, you were there to get the $500.
I was there to get the $500. And I did get that $500.
And the exit was pretty bad too, I'm certain.
The exit was horrendous. Yes. I was down for a day.
So, I think that's a really, good story to, like how many people would actually consider like, I need to pay this bill. I'm going to do whatever it takes.
Whatever it takes.
I probably wouldn't have. I would have looked for something else. But you being Mexican,
we had garage sales. We were doing everything we could.
Yeah. So, take me. So now you've won the $500 and you got that problem fixed because it's only temporary.
Sure.
But you knew that you had to figure out a way to make it where it wasn't. You were eating jalapenos one week. And,
it didn't matter
having
what
to shove
it was.
hot dogs and whatever the next trick was.
Right. Yes. I was ready to take that task on.
So is this where you found LinkedIn? Because LinkedIn, this is what, 2008?
2008. LinkedIn started in 2003.
Yeah. So LinkedIn's still new. I mean, 5 years is still, figuring the platform out.
Right.
You get on and what made you, of all the platforms that were available to you?
Well, out of all the platforms that were available to me, LinkedIn was the only virtual portal platform that truly allowed me to harness and bring in and funnel in professionals, right? And to professionally sort those individuals. So that same year, 2008, I got a job with a healthcare clinic in town. And my role, I ended up selling the sales manager on the idea that I can be the best salesperson for them. And had no training in the healthcare marketing or insurance. And I was required to go door to door and cold call HR managers, wellness managers, benefit managers, selling our wellness program, our executive health program, our health fairs, our drug screenings, pre-employment physicals. And that was just I hate cold calling.
Yeah, I don't think anyone likes cold calling.
It's something that you have to do.
Well, maybe Grant Cardone does.
Grant Cardone probably does. Cold calling it's you're constantly getting turned down, right?
Right.
Just to get that one win. And are you prepared for 50 turndowns for one yes?
Right.
And what if it takes 80 turndowns for one yes? We don't ever never know what that number is. We just know that if we don't try, we'll never get there.
Right.
And we know that it's going to take a lot of work. And so I knew that it would take a lot of work for me to get enough yes for what I was doing with the healthcare clinic I was with. And I joined various chambers of commerce. So I was doing the outside networking, and I saw that's virtually what LinkedIn was doing, truly virtually, was providing that networking opportunity that I experienced in these chambers of commerce and these other trade associations, but online. And I saw that there was an opportunity to create an online portal for healthcare professionals or people that were HR or benefits or wellness to join a particular LinkedIn group, and I could be the leader of that group.
Right.
And, and that's one mindset that I've always had, is that people have two characteristics. They have many, but if I was to silo leadership or followers, either people want to be a leader or they want to be next to the leader or they're happy following.
Right.
And so I knew I had to be a leader. And so I created a leadership role through a LinkedIn group called Houston at Work. And that was my first LinkedIn group. Yeah. And over a year, it grew to like 1,500 people.
Right.
So that's how I started everything.
I don't remember who it was. It was the guy who started CD Baby, Derek Sager, I think is his name. And he did a short video on TED Talk. You got to check it out.
Right.
Where he talked about, for every great leader, that the crazy one, there has to be the first follower.
That's right.
And it's actually the first follower who is the true leader, because without him, no one else is saying it's okay to go follow this.
They're
person.
the catalyst.
They're the catalyst. Yeah.
Absolutely.
So, you always have to be, and I learned this in playing sports and in being in the military, is like you have to first be a good follower yourself. And because, you have mentors, parents, whoever those people end up being.
Well, everything is a learning cycle, right?
There is a learning cycle.
So you can see what the leader's doing well and what they're not doing well, how you change things.
Yeah.
But then you got to jump off the cliff and then you have to lead.
Yeah.
Right. And it starts off, like you said, by being a good follower.
Yeah. So you're on link. So now you're on LinkedIn.
Right.
You're saying, hey, I've been asked to do door knocking, which, hey,
Yeah.
I think everyone who's going to be a salesperson should experience rejection at its finest.
Absolutely.
I mean, because you have to really
In a
build
suit.
it. Yeah, build up. You have to build up those muscles, so to speak, to be good at. I mean, you're going to get turned down. My sister said that she owns a recruiting business, right? And she talked about that there is a ratio in every industry, once you do it long enough, on how many people you need to call to get one person to say yes.
Yeah.
And whatever that industry, let's say you do it long enough and you know that if you make 10 calls, you get one person.
That's right.
So when you call the 10, you just said, hey, look, I'm on. I know, Freddie, that you may or may not want this. I know from experience that if I call 10 people, at least one person will say yes. It doesn't matter which one you are to me. I just know I need to call 10.
That's right.
If you want to be the one of the 9, that's fine. Which one are you?
Which one are you? Absolutely.
So now we've got the LinkedIn group. We're growing it. And what was the next thing? Now you got all these people in a group. And did you have to moderate it? Did you have to come up with content?
So LinkedIn has made several changes since I got on in 2008. It's 10 years now, right? And they went public.
Mm-hmm.
One thing, they were purchased by Microsoft. It's another thing. So now they're a publicly traded company, and that they have to answer stakeholders, and so they have to monetize their value, and that means that they're changing on how people use LinkedIn and consume LinkedIn. So after I had the Houston at Work LinkedIn group for HR and benefit and wellness managers, and I was joining all these chambers of commerce and trade association, and just really got addicted to leadership.
Yep.
And truly, that's what I say. I got addicted to leadership, and I decided to try to get a leadership role in some other young professional organizations. And there were hundreds of young professional organizations here in Houston that had a lot of financial backing behind them because they were part of a supportive group,
right?
Or they had great donors because they were focused on a certain silo. And the opportunity from being a follower, what I saw is that neither one of them did business networking and social fun extremely well. And they were so focused on their silo that they alienated other individuals, other professionals.
Yeah.
So I wanted to start an umbrella organization, if you will. And within the first month, I started Houston Young Professionals on LinkedIn. I bought a domain from GoDaddy for $10. So for $10, I started this business. And I didn't have a website because with a website, you have to have interest and it has to change. Otherwise, it's just static and it becomes boring and stale. So I had the web domain pointed to the LinkedIn group. And so it was an easy domain, HoustonYoungProfessionals.com, to market.
All right.
And within the first month, it grew to over 1,000 people. And I knew how long it took me to grow to over 1,000 with my first LinkedIn group. It took me a year. So I accomplished in 1 month what it took me a year to vigorously work at on a constant basis. And from that point, I threw my first networking event, and the first networking event had 300 people in attendance for a free event.
Right.
And some local media here in town covered it as if it was a big to-do event. And it was just the light bulb went on, and that's truly the genesis of the organization.
Right. So, human nature comes into all of this. Right?
Oh, absolutely.
It's understanding that people like to be a part of something that they feel like that they can either contribute, get something from. It's that feeling that we all have when we want to be a part of something. So creating a group worked then and it works now. I mean, absolutely. In fact, that's what
that's what you're doing with the show.
I mean, that's what I do with this show. That's what when we work with other companies and we're building out a strategy, one of the big strategies is groups. We say, well, who are the people you're wanting? So I like to give examples of like a specific group.
Okay.
Like, so if you were picking out or somebody sat down with you and the company, well, let's say was a real estate company. Right.
Okay.
And a real estate company said, hey, Freddie, I mean, we're starting from zero. We have our people on LinkedIn, maybe not the best. We have our firm, our brokerage firm on LinkedIn, but it doesn't really generate any business. What would be your first thing that you would do to look for to find out? What do you usually find out when somebody says LinkedIn's not working for them? What's the first thing you look for to go, yep, that's what I thought?
Well, when someone says LinkedIn is not working for them, the first thing I want to do is do a LinkedIn audit.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
that's
And what is that? What is the basis of that? Really? What is that and why would you do it?
So I ask people this question. I ask sales managers, hiring managers, and individuals.
Mm-hmm.
If I was to audit your LinkedIn right now, what would I find? Would I find an online resume, or would I find a LinkedIn sales funnel? Will I find like a one-page website, a landing page? You know, how well do you have it designed visually, and how are you using the words in your profile, and what evidence are you providing saying that you're the best and I should be using you?
Right. I mean, that's a great tip. If you always look, because I think we do a lot of things unknowingly. We
Right.
do them from our perspective, like telling people, instead of understanding who's looking at it and what do
Right.
we want the person who is looking at our profile to get from our profile, and the people we want to attract, and the people because there's people we don't want either.
Well, you're the director of your story, right?
Yeah.
Isn't life just a big story?
Yeah.
And we're playing the main role.
Yep.
And on that poster wall of that brands and that advertise that movie, I mean, you just have a resume there as opposed to this beautiful colored collage of credentials and evidence
Yep.
and supporting information, letting everybody know how great you are. You know,
Right.
and also bringing in testimonials from other people saying how great you are.
Right.
So I think that's the big disconnect first, is that people are trying to build this brand, this online persona with just a resume.
Right. Well, you know, LinkedIn right now has this huge opportunity because it's still new, that with this video that they've brought in.
Right.
Was it last year? And depending on who you were,
Last
maybe
year,
you had a
and-
little bit longer.
And it took us almost a year for us to
I
get.
know. I wrote them.
I wrote them too as
I
well.
was like, look here.
6 months to a year for me to get video.
So this is huge opportunity because I put the quote in the promotion for the show from Gary.
Vaynerchuk.
He said in the next 24 months, LinkedIn will have the news feed will look much like Facebook, and he's pretty spot on currently. If you go into LinkedIn right now, it almost mimics what Facebook's news feed looks exactly. They got like, share, comment, and then the type of content that people are putting in there.
Right.
The good and the bad is that they're putting the exact same thing, and it's not a platform like that, right?
No. So here's some of the difference.
More of an education.
LinkedIn is for positioning yourself as that expert, right? So when you engage people, when you go back to your earlier question, when they say LinkedIn's not working for me, it's, well, okay, after the LinkedIn audit, how are you using LinkedIn?
Yeah.
You know, are you just that person on top of the mountain saying, look at me, how great I am? You know, nobody, that's the same guy and girl that's goes to these business networking events, shoving their business card in everybody's hand saying, hey, use my service. I like referrals. You know, well, okay, everybody likes referrals and everybody wants their service to be used and consumed, but you haven't yet given me a single ounce of evidence why I should trust you and should use you.
Right.
You know, so, you know, I forgot what the question was, but that's my answer.
No, you answered it. I mean, so here's a couple things for that people. LinkedIn is a publishing. It's
the largest self-publisher there is through their article publishing format.
So this is one way, right? This
Absolutely.
is one way that you can build credibility, is whether we like it or not. Anything that we want to do with excellence in life or be good at or be known for is going to require us to do things that other people don't want to do, or we ourselves might not want to do, like actually have to write an article.
You know, whenever you start doing something or you see someone else doing it, and there's always a statement someone would make in that audience. It's like, well, if it was easy, everybody would be doing it. Right.
Yeah.
Or that's too easy. That couldn't be the answer.
Yeah.
Right. Well, you know, it is simply as easy as doing the work, and it is a lot of work. And that's why a lot of people are not doing it and taking advantage of it.
Right.
Now, when you talk about articles and LinkedIn being the largest self-publisher, the things that you write in your articles are so important because now they've become search engine optimized.
Yeah.
And it's for this single reason only. If you ever Googled your name, why is it that your profile from LinkedIn or Facebook or others is the first one that shows up? The answer is very simple. It's because your name is embedded in that URL. And so Google finds relevance in that.
Right.
So when you write a LinkedIn article, think about how people will search on Google. They start searching by asking a question, right? So maybe your headline in your article starts off with how to, and then you can finish the sentence,
right?
You know, or where can I find, and finish the sentence, or the best of, and finish the sentence, right? So that headline automatically becomes part of that LinkedIn article URL.
Yeah.
I tell people I'm known on Google for 3 things: Houston Young Professionals, Houston LinkedIn Workshop, and for being Freddie Gorgeous.
And that is a real name.
Because I wake up gorgeous every day.
That's such a failing.
But there's a lot of tricks and a lot of hacks you can get into on using LinkedIn for search engine optimization, not only inside the platform, but also outside the platform for search engines like Google, Yahoo, and Bing.
Right. You know, one of the things that when you said, hey, Randall, you know, you were being honest with me. It's like, hey, you need to, because I wasn't using LinkedIn.
No, you weren't using LinkedIn.
I am now, but a year ago.
But that came out of jealousy because you were jealous of my success.
No, it came out of the competitiveness. I'm like, I can't let this dude. So you said, hey man, here's some things that you can do. Here's some things I want. You know what it was?
And I gave you some examples.
No, do you know what it was?
What was that?
We were. I remember now. We were at Brasserie 19. We were eating. I was eating like a kale
was
salad.
Was this our date night?
That was please don't tell that story.
So that's a funny story.
Yeah. So we were over there and we were just talking business, random stuff, and the idea of, hey, I need to get my LinkedIn stuff because I have all this other stuff, but LinkedIn is where I really need to go because I'm in the B2B and I know that.
Right.
And you said, look, I need you to just do something for me right now. Then you were like, I just need you to see something so you can believe what I'm about to tell you.
Right.
And you said, find a messy desk.
Right.
You said, find a messy desk. And I said, okay. And I was like, hey, what do you think of that? And those are like super messy desk. And you said, now put above it. And it was, what was it?
What's your first impression? Yeah.
What's your first impression of this desk? ? That was it.
Or the person that has this desk, something of that nature.
Yeah. I think it was, what's your first impression of this desk? And a question mark. And he said, that's it. And I said, that's it. And he goes, that. And let's look at it a little later after our date.
Right.
So what was it, like 4 or 5 hours later? I log in. I already had like 115 comments.
Right.
150 comments. Back then, they weren't telling you how many views yet. I don't think were. Oh yeah, no, they were. They were. It was like this crazy numbers, like 4,000 in a few hours.
Right.
And he's like, now we'll meet up later next week, and then I'll tell you all the other, the stuff. But that was
the beginning of your journey of the power of LinkedIn.
The tough part is when you work with a friend, you see them solely different,
right?
And there's somebody else outside. But I think everybody needs to see proof, even if they know you sometimes.
Right.
And
that's the power of magic. It's the perception of free will.
There you go. I love that. So, after that, I was like, okay, I'm done. And then even since then, we've gone like, okay, who can create the post?
Right.
Because now the competitiveness comes in again. And we created one. I think it was like 3.5 million. I was just behind it, like 2.5 million.
So we call that the garlic post. And so LinkedIn has now integrated hashtags. You always had the ability to hashtag in any platform, but now LinkedIn has created AI that auto suggests hashtags.
I love that too, by the way.
I love it too, because you can sort down straight to the specific content that you find of interest or of value. So I've got a hashtag called #garlic post.
Oh,
and it's my garlic post, right?
You're giving away the secrets already.
Giving away some secrets.
You got garlics and you got a thing for
messy
garlics
desk.
and jalapenos.
Yeah, right. All this
jalapenos. That was about as white as I could.
We're going to talk about bibidus.
Yeah.
The oxygen just left.
So I mean, I know we got all kinds of stuff that we want to talk about.
Well, I'll wrap that one up. It was just a random post of asking people to pick a logo with 4 options, which one they like the most. So one thing I can tell you that people love to do, and please feel free to do this on this Facebook Live when you share it, but also comment, ask an opinion, or share your opinion.
Yeah.
Because people love sharing their opinion on LinkedIn, and they love on telling you why they think this is the best or this is not the best. So there was just that. Which garlic image do you like the most for a logo?
Yeah.
And I received over 16,000 comments. So it's traveled around the world.
Yeah.
Over 16,000 comments. That's huge.
It's the same thing I got. I mean, here's the crazy thing is I answered every one. I had 14,885 comments. I only know this because I do this presentation
Right.
using that. And I made a comment, but there were literally people who didn't just write like, I like number one because of this. They were like breaking it down, like the color and why,
Right.
and the emotion. And the thing was, is after we, because we dialogued about this over time, it's like, okay, what does that, because people are asking us, what does that have to do with your business? And he goes, and we were like, well, what does it have to do when I meet Freddie at a networking event and I don't know
Right.
him, and we start talking about the US Open? What does that have to do with me wanting him to use me as an engineer?
It's just an icebreaker.
It's a conversation starter.
That's right.
That's it.
And it gets them to start to view your profile.
Yes.
And that's where I go back. If your profile looks like an online resume,
yes,
it has zero to no interest. Imagine a movie poster and it was just a big resume of text, of copy. Take that same movie poster, and add a beautiful image like Indiana Jones, the Temple of Doom or whatever it is, just
Right.
this action piece where it
Right.
tells its whole story. That's how your profile should be. It should be visually appealing. It should be telling a story, because if you can direct, and we're always talking about ABC, always be closing to the next step. The next step is to make contact, get engagement by having them viewing your profile to learn more about you.
right.
And you end up getting business out of it.
I'll tell you one thing that does annoy me though about LinkedIn, and I'm sure that's your advice that you give people, that you tell them this is not a good practice, is as soon as you connect with them, you get an email and they say, hey, they basically say exactly the same thing, something along the lines of, hey, I seen that we had some common interest and that we might be able to share some business together. And then they give you their whole thing. Like, here's what I do. And if you need
It's one-sided.
it's like, look, no, that is for me. And I think it's everybody else. If somebody went on my post and said, hey man, I seen you wrote a book. Where can I get a copy of that book?
Right.
Open your mind and let that out. And I would send them a link. And then the next feed that person could say to me is, can you give me man, that's an amazing title. Like, open your mind and let doubt out. How'd you come up with? That's an icebreaker. If somebody said that, I would be highly, highly likely. Now everybody's going to write me and say that, but it's looking at, so like you were saying,
Right.
having a profile to give people something to talk about. It's like when they like a gal, right?
Right.
They are looking everywhere, like watch anything that they can say, that's a beautiful watch.
Give a compliment, right?
Give a compliment. But when you have nothing on there to compliment or question or say, hey, I seen you went to A&M, so did I. Instantly, if people don't know, if you live in Texas and someone went to Texas A&M,
right,
they instantly are like each other, at least basically from that.
A lot of
feel
these,
like they know them.
Well, and there's huge alumni support in these big universities.
Yeah.
Everything you put on your LinkedIn and everything someone puts on their LinkedIn, you're giving permission for someone to have a conversation with you about that.
Yeah, or you wouldn't have put it up there.
Exactly. And that's the beautiful thing, is that you are the director of your movie. You get to choose what people learn and find out about you, not just on LinkedIn, but on all your platforms.
Yes, right. I agree with that statement. So I want to move into, so now I think people really understand that. So if you were going to give people just a couple of tips, 3, 4, 5 tips, and said, hey, if you're wanting to clean it up, these 3 or 4, however many it is, will have the biggest impact with the least amount of time. Because some people don't have all the time. Maybe they're like you were, being tasked to do all this work for your organization.
Sure.
What are some of those things that you would say, hey, do this? What's the number one? First, let's start with that one. What is the number one thing that somebody needs to do with their profile, but not get too technical, because that's hard to do on a mic.
I tell people the number one thing, and I want you to visualize this here. Us as humans, we read and we consume content in a certain format, and it's consistent. That is, we read from left to right, and we see from top down for most cases.
Yeah.
Specifically, if we're looking on an electronic device or on a computer screen. So what's the very first thing someone's going to see? It's going to be your banner image.
Yeah.
Okay. And
that's the image at the top.
That's the image at the top. And when in my presentation, I ask people, finish the sentence. If you know the answer, just shout it out. A picture's worth
1,000 words.
1,000 words. That's do you believe it? I say, okay. Well, imagine that you just spent $10,000 of your money, not borrowed money, $10,000 of your money for the biggest billboard ad and it's going to go on the busiest freeway in your town. Now, what would that billboard ad say?
Right. I like
So,
that.
if you can visualize that, does it have a good, clear message? Does it tell people what lifestyle you're selling or what solutions you're providing to the table or what value you have? Does it have a call to action? Is your phone number on there? Is there a website? How can I get a hold of you if I'm ready to consume whatever you're providing?
Right. That's the good stuff.
So that's the first thing. The second thing that I would say is your headline. I do a lot of presentation with professionals, and a lot of times they'll just have their job title, CPA. Well, there's over 60,000 CPAs here in Houston. Realtor. Well, there's over 100,000 people in the real estate industry. And folks, these are your competition. You can search this out. So you want to go beyond than just having a job title as your headline.
Right.
And I describe it this way here. Well, if you treat your banner image like your billboard or like the cover of a magazine, imagine if you're at the grocery store line, and if you ever taken a double take on a magazine or a newspaper that something on the headline caught your attention, the picture caught your attention, then the headline really caught your attention, you want to know more about it. That's what your headline on your LinkedIn should do. It should elaborate on the story that the banner is telling, but it also should say, who do you help? What problems you solve? What value do you offer? Is it a value forward proposition statement that you're having in there? And do you have a call to action, or do you have your contact information in there? It should be more than your job title. It doesn't have to have all of those elements, but at least one of those elements. And you can personalize it too as well. You can say things like, I'm a father, or I'm a food lover. You can add a little extra personality into it, and don't be afraid to do that.
Right.
And you can break things up with asterisks or dash or slashes and parentheses.
Right. I think the one that you said first is that's a huge. I mean, it's the most overlooked, and it's one of the biggest, and it's the first one that people see outside of your smiley face.
Grant Cardone says, if I go visit your Facebook profile and I can't tell what business you're in, then you've got a missed opportunity.
Yeah, that's true.
If you go to someone's LinkedIn profile and you can't immediately tell what business they're in, hey guys, LinkedIn is a professional platform.
Right.
What profession are you in?
It goes back to, I did one of my other shows. We talked about the way the brain works. The brain does not like to tax a lot of energy. Like if you ask it to do something, it needs to be able to not use very much, because that's that crocodile brain right there.
It finds the easiest path.
Yeah. And anything that it feels like it's going to be painful, it abandons it. And one of the painful things is asking it to read something for an hour. There's just not, most people are not going to do that unless they seeked out and wanted to look at some information.
Right.
So I think those are really good tips right there, because I want to lead into the last part, because it wasn't that I forgot. It was that we were going to bring it all around and say, how does LinkedIn help someone predict the future of their business? And that was the topic of the whole day. So now that they understand, what you did and how you done it,
right,
and then how LinkedIn has helped other people, and then how you gave them just a tip right there. Now let's bring it in. How does all of that going to help them predict the future of their business? How do you see that?
So the way I see LinkedIn predicting the success of your business is by the number of engagements, first of all, that you receive.
Yeah.
Okay. So I often tell people that, you have to provide the evidence to show people that they can have this trust value within you.
Right.
And, when we talk about the post, the garlic post or the messy desk post, people are like, well, what relevance would that have if I'm a CPA or a realtor or a business coach or a marketer or an ad agency? It doesn't matter what industry you're in. The intent of that post, and I think you shared that with some haters, is that I want to engage you into a conversation. This is just my icebreaker.
Right.
And now that I've made this post and we've engaged, you viewed my profile, and I can see through LinkedIn, one, who's viewed my profile.
Right.
So LinkedIn in its activity feed that you have on your wall, on your profile wall, tells you how many times you've been viewed in the past 90 days. And so just like when you go to the doctor and you get your physical, you get your baseline, right?
Right.
Write that number down. That's the number that you've been viewed in the past 90 days. So your goal is to increase that number, because opportunities only come through rules of number. So I have a lot of philosophy in my life, and I believe in the rules of number.
Yep.
I also believe in the rules of probabilities. It's because everything's a math formula. What are you doing things to stack things in your favor? Are you engaging? Are you being active? The second thing that you want to look at is what keywords are people searching you? How are you being found? So if they're not finding you based upon your post and your engagement that way, and they're actually putting in keywords, well, then let's learn what keywords they're searching you for.
Right.
Because listen, my father retired 20 years from the Navy, retired 20 years from the prison system as a correctional officer, and he's 17 years in retirement right now. That's a rare breed.
Yeah.
Most people will have a job change every 5 to 7 years. Some people will have a marital change every 5 or 7 years. People's lives are constantly changing in a rapid pace.
Yep.
So your skill sets and the keywords that you've made and allowed your dormant LinkedIn profile, that has become your identity online, whether you know it or not. And you're not being found because you've misplaced your identity on your old employer
Right.
and your old activities that you were doing, not based upon the new you. So go in there, make sure you add those keywords. Those are tag words, and you can see what people are searching for on how they're finding you. So if you're not being discovered based upon the keywords that are relevant to you today, that's number 2. Correct that.
Right. So predicting the future is you LinkedIn actually gives you a tool to see how many people are at least searching out your profile. And like all things, the larger that number is the more opportunities that you have, or they have to engage with you.
Exactly.
And then you just do your part, engage back with them.
That's right.
And just like, all the way back to the beginning of time, they were going to bazaars to meet people, and we go to networking events. We still do, and people still do those.
Still do networking
and go in person. That the more people that I meet at that event, and the more events that I go to, the more likely that your business is going to be successful. And I think that's what you're saying is you just have a tool in LinkedIn to be able to know this information.
Well, and LinkedIn, Randall, gives you a specific tool to actually drill deeper down in that. And that's called your social selling index.
Yeah.
So all this conversation is about social selling.
Right.
And all social selling is, how well are you in relationship building? Are you just a turtle and you go in your shell, or are you that rabbit that goes out there and just a social butterfly?
Right.
And are you relevant? So your social selling index is a score. Mine is 89. And it tells me, it says, Freddie, out of your company, so it gets 3 categories: how you rank within your company, how you rank within your industry, and how do you rank within your network?
Right.
So I'm the top 1% of my company. I'm a small shop, but it also tells me in my industry, which is management consulting, the average, I believe, is like 27 is the average.
Your score is 27.
The average score is 27 for management consulting.
Wow. And yours is an 89.
Mine's 89. And I've been as high as 91. Currently it's 89. Then within my network of 30,000 first degree connections, and you heard that right, it's 30,000 first degree connections, with the majority of them being here in Houston because of Houston Young Professionals.
Right.
But my average network score, they have like an average score of like 27, if I remember right, and mine's 89. So that gives me a benchmark of identifying how well engaging I am, the relevance of the content that I share, and the relevance of how good I am of building my network, and those are the actual fields that it identifies you in. So
Right.
Your social selling index.
Well, man, we're going to wrap it up here soon. And
It's too early.
Man,
I've got a 3-hour presentation.
I know. I seen that. You was over there just ready. I'm like, man, there's just no way we could squeeze. But there is a lot of stuff that you can share.
That's right.
And you graciously put together something for everybody that they can go to.
Can I show it?
You can show them.
Huh?
Then it'll be backwards, most likely. I know it won't. So they can go to
There you go.
what is it? LinkedInSalesFunnel.com and download a free 30-point LinkedIn checklist, and that will give them a good starting
It'll get them a good start. I've seen a lot of 10-point things to do, and I'm like, God, you're not really giving any information. I mean, that's just basic information you can just Google and find out on your own.
Yeah.
And I think the value comes in is when I can give you something that Google cannot give you. Right? Is that the value?
Is this a picture?
This is, yes.
Okay.
So the value is when I can give you something, 30 points that you must have
Right.
on your LinkedIn, not the top 10 things, but 30 specific things that you can do right now.
Right.
That when I go to audit your LinkedIn profile, these are the first 30 things that I'm looking at, plus a whole bunch more.
Good. Well, I'll put that link in the description above here. If you're watching this on YouTube, it's going to be below it. And if you're listening to the podcast, it's going to be LinkedInSalesFunnel.com. That's LinkedInSalesFunnel.com. You can find Freddie Gorgeous, and that's Freddie, FredDdy.
That's right.
Goerges, Freddie Gorgeous.
And then it doesn't matter how you spell my name, because I have a hack on being discovered on LinkedIn if you have a common misspelled name.
How's that?
I can't give that secret out, but it's a hack.
Okay, then. Well, maybe some the other day.
Maybe
I can squeeze it out.
Absolutely.
Hey, Freddie, thanks for coming in today and sharing. I know there's so much more, but again, to get this 30-point LinkedIn checklist, you can go to LinkedInSalesFunnel.com. And this is going to wrap up the show, but I want to say, I always look for great guests. So I said, I'm going to use my marketing skills, and I'm going to put together a tool that I could use to build a database, to build a network of people that I'd like to do. You know, the premise behind Think Like a Marketer is always give more than you ask for. 51-49. It was, Zig Ziglar said it, and I'm sure there were people throughout history that have said the same thing, just different ways, that if you give people what they want, you'll always get what you want.
That's right.
And what most people want is they just want to feel like they helped somebody.
That's right.
And if you can get paid to do that, that's a good day. So I've created a website. It's called onmyshow.com. That's onmyshow.com. You can go there. I'll put it in the links here and fill out a form. It's just a quick form. I'm choosing 5 top entrepreneurs, marketers, and innovators to be on the show. And you can go there. I'll give you a little bit more detail on what all comes with that. And it's all free. I say it's free, but it's not free because your time is not free. That's the most valuable thing you have. So if you're willing, if you're willing to give me your time, I'm willing to do all the other stuff. Again, you can go to onmyshow.com. Hey, and thanks everybody for coming on to episode 7 of the Think Like a Marketer show. And I'm out.